Olympic Solidarity and Olympism 365 Director, to give you an update on the NOCs, and Leandro La Rosa, IOC's Digital Engagement and Marketing Director. I think it's his first press conference with us. Welcome. He'll update you ahead of the Olympic Day and the Let's Move campaign, which you've probably seen already, I hope, and the digital work on the Olympic qualifier season. But before we hear from them, just a few EB issues that were covered today. Changes of nationality, which I know some of you from the concerned countries will want to know. So, in view of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, Jack McMillan in aquatic swimming will move from Irish to Great Britain nationality. Alexandra Ndolo in fencing from Germany to Kenya. And as usual, the EB granted the requested exemption to the 3-year waiting period with the prior agreement of the International Federation, the National Olympic Committee concerned, in accordance with the Rule 41 of the Olympic Charter, for those of you who are interested. One other service notice I have today. There was a question yesterday regarding the IOC members in Russia, and I promised an answer, so I will give you one forthwith. In order to avoid having different standards between the athletes, the national officials and the IOC members in Russia, the same conditions to participate in the IOC international events apply. The IOC Ethics Commission has noted that 2 of the conditions mentioned in the IOC Executive Board's recommendations apply to the IOC members. 1 is the active support of the war, and 2 is the contractual situation vis-à-vis Russian military or national security agencies. The situation of the IOC members concerned shall be assessed at the time of the event of the invasion on the 24th of February 2022, and since then. Considering the last point, the past contractual situation of athletes at a time before the beginning of the war shall not be taken into consideration. So those are the guidelines that are applied to IOC members and honorary members, and all the necessary work has been carried out to the satisfaction of the Ethics Commission. So, as I say, promised you an answer, and there it is. So without further ado, let me now go to James McLeod, who will give you an update on NOC matters coming out of today. James, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who are online. Yes, in today's IOC Executive Board, there were a number of cases relating to NOCs that were presented to the Executive Board, notably in relation to Guatemala, India, Sudan, and Afghanistan. And indeed, there was a decision on Afghanistan that I'll read to you afterwards. In terms of the situation in Guatemala that we have updated you in the past, we regretted to inform the Executive Board that no progress had been made vis-à-vis the situation in Guatemala, and as such, the IOC Executive Board decision of 8th of September 2022, which suspended the NOC, remains in place. We will continue to work with the authorities there to resolve that issue as quickly as possible. It was noted as well that in the upcoming Central American and Caribbean Games, which will take place in El Salvador, athletes from Guatemala will be invited, but under the Centro Caribbean sport flag and anthem. And there'll be around 360 athletes who will be participating, but without the National Olympic Committee due to its status as a suspended NOC. In terms of the NOC of India, as you will recall, the IOC had asked for a number of elements to be reviewed by the NOC of India, and in particular, we needed them to finalize, as per their statutes, the appointment of a new Chief Executive Officer or Secretary General, and this is something that has been delayed, and we've asked them to address that situation as quickly as possible, as well as to work with a number of international federations relating to issues that are happening with their national federations in India, to ensure that those are resolved in the most speedy and effective way. In particular, as well, as you will know, with the Wrestling Federation. We updated as well on the situation of the NOC of Sudan, where following the outbreak of the civil war a couple of months ago, it was noted that a majority of the NOC executive board and staff and National Federation representatives have had to flee the country, and a general update was given to the executive board on that. With respect to the NOC of Afghanistan, the IOC administration was able to meet again with the NOC of Afghanistan and the new Director of Physical Education and Sport, who was recently appointed, and an online call was made recently with the IOC member, the Afghan NOC President and Secretary General, and indeed the Olympic Council of Asia. And in that meeting, the IOC EB's decision of the 6th of December was reiterated to the new Director of Physical Education and Sport. In particular, we discussed the ensuring the safe and inclusive access to sport for women and young girls in the country. The new Director of Physical Education and Sport has confirmed a number of the points that were raised in the earlier executive board decision, and guaranteed that work was ongoing relating to this critical matter for the IOC, and indeed sent a letter to the IOC to confirm a number of the elements. That said, a decision was made by the IOC Executive Board that I'll read to you now. The IOC Executive Board took note of the latest discussions with the Afghan NOC and the Afghan Directorate of Physical Education and Sport over the past few months to address the issue of ensuring safe and inclusive access to sport for women and young girls in Afghanistan. The IOC EB was made aware of recent developments, in particular at the level of primary schools, to allow young girls to practice sport as a first step, but reiterated that this remains insufficient. The IOC EB continues to be extremely concerned by the restrictions placed on women and young girls to access sport in Afghanistan, which have not yet been reversed despite the repeated calls from the IOC, and which run contrary to the Olympic values of non-discrimination, inclusion, and respect. Consequently, the IOC EB urges the Afghan NOC and the Afghan Directorate of Physical Education and Sport to drastically strengthen and accelerate their efforts with the highest authorities in the country, and expects to see significant progress and concrete results at all levels in the very near future. The IOC EB will review the situation at its next meeting in October 2023 after the Asian Games, and reserves the right to take any further measures to protect women and young girls' access to sport, noting that the specific modalities for the participation of the Afghan NOC delegation and team in the Olympic Games Paris 2024 have not yet been decided. Until then, the IOC Executive Board decision taken on 6th December 2022, which stated clear conditions with regard to the support to, activities with, and continued operations of the Afghan NOC, remains fully in place. The IOC continues to support directly athletes aiming to qualify for and participate in the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
Thank you very much, James. And obviously we can take questions on all those issues in a moment. But let's now go over to Leandro, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Let's Move campaign and the Olympic qualifier series. Leandro, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And it's a pleasure for me to be here today to highlight the great collaboration between the World Health Organization and the IOC, allowing us to fulfill a common mission to make the world not only better but also healthier. Indeed, according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 4 adults and 80% of young people are not physically active enough, leading to increased physical and mental health issues. And this report was the one that triggered for us to create this campaign, this idea, and this new initiative that we present today that is called Let's Move. It's as I said, it's a global partnership between the World Health Organization and the IOC. announced yesterday, to inspire and enable the world to move every day. Obviously, putting the athletes at the center of the initiative, and also this Let's Move initiative shines a light on the benefit of moving more and contributes to the IOC Olympism 365 strategy. Our strategy to get people moving is really simple. We engage with our athletes communities, starting with big names there. Alison Felix, Pau Gasol, Yusra Mardini, David Beckham, among others, around 200 athletes, encouraging people to move. The content is very fun. It's exactly what the world needs today. There is an inspiration to take a moment, a break in their days, to move, not only to make sport, but mainly to move, to do something. All the workups, the tips, and the advices are totally accessible for any level and validated with the World Health Organization in terms of message. And our mechanism is really simple. Block 30 minutes in your calendar by receiving this invite from the athletes that I just mentioned. We split it for the first time, because this is totally aligned with the Olympic Day. We split this campaign in three phases, 3 steps. Instead of just doing some activation, June 23rd, that is the day for Olympic Day, we had a first phase from 1st June to 12th of June. That was a warm-up phase where we outlined and we described why movement is good for our bodies, hearts, and minds. Then from 13th to 22nd of June is the commitment phase, where, as I said before, people block their calendars by receiving and accepting these invitations and these, as we call it, Olympic invites from the different athletes. And then the final activation day, that is June 23rd, that, as I said, is not the end of the campaign, because we will announce something else later for us to continue with this initiative longer. Just to describe briefly what we are doing and what are the global commitments of the different stakeholders that we have among us. 24 iconic landmarks and all Olympic cities will light up with the image of the campaign and the colors of the Olympic rings. As you can see in the screen, Barcelona, London, Rio, Buenos Aires, Milano, Beijing, Tokyo, Dubai, Geneva, among others. International federations, most of the summer and winter federations suggested 2 athletes in order for us to also respect our gender balance, for them to be part of the campaign. As I mentioned before, you can see here in the screen some big names of the over 200 athletes and Olympians that are engaged in this program, and with 142 national Olympic committees already engaged to activate. Also, the other important pillar for us is how we work with ministries of education around the world and schools. What I can highlight here is that, for example, in the region of Odisha in India, we are working with 63,000 schools that represent 7 million kids that are going to be part of this program, among other programs that we have in France, in Italy, linked to Paris 2024, and Milano Cortina 2026. Early results show a fantastic engagement from the social media point of view of our audiences that we were targeting. And so what I would like to do is to invite you for us to join the movement, for you to accept the Olympic invite, for you to be able to move for 30 minutes anywhere, anyhow, do this digital workout led by Olympians. And when you share your movement, please hashtag it as it is explained in the screen. So if you allow me, I will play the promotional video of this campaign right now.
The most common global answer on why don't you exercise on a daily basis is, I don't have time. But we all have time, even for things we don't want to do, like dentist appointment, meeting with Dan, taxes. The difference is that we have them in our calendar. That's why this Olympic Day, June 23rd, for the first time ever, Olympics is leaving no room for excuses. Presenting the Olympic Invite. Imagine being invited to exercise for 30 minutes along with world-class athletes to make the most of that half-an-hour squeeze between your shift and your annual veterinary checkup. Join them in a simple workout designed by Olympians to move your body, whatever your fitness level, wherever you are. Get your invite and mark June 23rd. Because if it's in your calendar, you won't skip it. Let's move.
Thank you very much, Leandro. So you've had the invitation there for 30 minutes workout every day. I expect you all to take part, as we all will. Just one thing which I missed very briefly. Yesterday was World Refugee Day. And as you know, the IOC is doing a lot with the refugee team and also with the Refuge Foundation. So James just wanted to quickly do an update on that, I think. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mark. And just a couple of updates on that, because recently the Olympic Refuge Foundation board was held in Paris, where a number of activities were presented. And we'd invite you to make sure that you're having a look at the website so that you can understand a bit more the scope of the Olympic Refuge Foundation that really does some amazing work across the world. There was also an update on the refugee athletes that receive scholarships preparing for the Olympic Games Paris 2024, with the hopes as well there that they will be selected by the IOC Executive Board to be part of the next refugee Olympic team in Paris 2024. This all comes on the back of an figure that the UNHCR has published recently of an increase of the number of refugees and forcibly displaced people to over 110 million people. So that is, the problem is growing, and I think that the IOC, through the Olympic Refuge Foundation and the actions that are done there, is able to respond to that as best we can.
Thank you very much, James. Okay, we're going to open the lines for questions now, and let's start with Wakako from Japan, from Yomiuri Shimbun. Your question, please, Wakako. Okay, and yeah, we can hear you now, Wakako.
And see me. Good. Thank you for taking my question. One each to Mark, as well as actually Leandro. To Mark, actually, follow up to what we've heard yesterday. Could you elaborate a little bit of the report by the Future Host Commission today by Mr. Moraliu? And also, could you kindly confirm that the timeline to decide or narrow down the field will not be this October, or can be this October for 2030? One question to Leandro, Mr. Alarosa. Interesting campaign, and it seems that the video we just saw was widening the sphere of the International Olympic Committee's approach to exercise in your daily lives, in your basically work, or in your actually anything that activity you have to do, but you can do the exercise. What is the message there? It seems that the IOC and WHO has been trying to promote the activeness and its importance in that sphere. And could you tell us what's the strategy behind? Thank you.
Leandro, do you want to start with that, and then we'll come back to me?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Strategy is really simple. Every year, during for example, the Earth Day, everybody take consciousness of the environment and everybody turn off the light for 1 hour. The strategy behind this is we want every June 23rd, that is the Olympic Day, inspired by our athletes that are our best ambassadors, to create consciousness around the world of the need of people to move. As you have seen in the report of the World Health Organization, 80% of our the young people around the world, in an average, is not moving enough. And this is bringing all the difficulties that we know, and we considered that we are the right organization working together, the two organizations working together, for us to encourage through our audience that are role models for the young people mainly, to show and to express the need to move. And again, move doesn't mean only sports, practicing sports. It means do something at least to get active and to be healthier. If the practice of sports is usual, even better. But at least what we are trying to do is to deliver and to convey this message together with our athletes, taking again into consideration the World Health Organization report that is really not nice to see.
Thank you very much, Leandro. Wakako, I'll try and give you a little bit of briefing on the kind of the time frame for 2030 choice, if that's kind of what you're looking for, I think. So the IOC is in discussion with a number of potential hosts with recent experience of hosting World Cups, championships, and have a highly developed sports market. As you know, a number of them have made themselves known publicly. I think I'm right in saying, we said yesterday, I think there are 6 interested parties at the moment, not all of which we can tell you their names because it's up to each individual potential bidder to say whether they want to be public or not. So as such, we have 6, as I say, I think, and it's time. At the moment, we're using the time to kind of help develop the kind of the vision, legacy strategy and so on, sustainable games plan for all of those interested parties. The election is expected no later than at Paris in 2024, but as you know, with the process now, it remains very flexible, so we can adapt to the pace of each of the hosts, depending on the changing circumstances. The Commission reports regularly to the IOC Executive Board about future interests, so it may change. It could increase in number, it could decrease in number still. And based on those reports, the EB will determine the time frame. But as I say, the election is expected no later than Paris 2024. I hope that answers your question. If you need more detail, I would think better for me to speak to, or you to speak to Kit, or I can arrange for kind of more detailed questions. But that was the kind of the general overall plan. I guess the kind of most important thing for you is that expected no later than Paris 2024, the decision. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I hope so. Good. Thank you very much, Wakako. Nice to see you again.
Indeed. Let's
go to Jeff Barkley from Inside the Games. Jeff.
Hello, can you hear me yet?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah, just looking ahead to to tomorrow's IOC extraordinary session. With the IBA set to lose its recognition, what are your thoughts on the new governing body, World Boxing? And has there been any engagement with a view to giving them recognition? And also, when is the IOC planning to make a decision on the participation of Russian and Belarusian athletes for Paris? And has it been disappointed that several federations, including World Athletics, has maintained their bans?
Sorry, the first question was IBA. Yeah. I mean, obviously, let's take things one thing at a time. We're not at the moment. Tomorrow we are looking at the IBA and the decision on whether to de-recognise them, or whatever the term is. And I think at the moment we remain concentrated on that, and it wouldn't be right to preempt that decision. So you'll forgive me if I won't speculate any further on that, because that's quite a big decision, and we need to concentrate. We need to concentrate on that one. As for Russian and Belarusian athletes, you know, this process. You want a time frame. We said we will take a decision when the time is right, and I think that's the right thing to do, to see how things are developing. I was just with the president in Baku, where we saw independent athletes taking part. Worked very well, and a lot of the athletes, coaches that we spoke to were content with that. I believe similar circumstances in fencing as well. Each federation will be different, to be honest. Some federations, the federations are independent; they can make their own they can make their own minds up. We would hope that they follow our guidelines. Many are starting to do so. There are more plans for other sports as well. I think rowing as well, off the top of my head, is moving towards some inclusion. So I think it needs to be flexible, because it's a moving situation. So I can't give you a timeline, but we will take a decision regarding Paris, which hasn't been taken yet. We will take that decision when the time is fit, and there still remains plenty of time for that decision to be taken. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, Marc von Thuyac from L'Équipe. Marc, à vous.
Oui.
Hello. Jeff asked a question I wanted to ask myself. On July 26, the IOC should send invitations to the Paris Olympic Games. Do you know whether this invitation will be sent to the 206 NOCs, or will you wait before you send this invitation to Russia and Belarus? Or will you send all the invitations later? Second thing, do you know whether the Ukrainian members of the IOC announced their participation in tomorrow's session?
So on the as I say, we haven't yet made up a decision on whether there will be Russian, Belarusian athletes in Paris. I don't know the detail of how the event will go on the 26th of July, and whether we'll be sending out 206 or 205. I mean, there are NOCs which aren't recognised at the moment, like Guatemala. So I can't give you a hard and fast answer now. Obviously, we will have a decision before the 26th of July, but that is, as you know, traditionally when those invitations would go out. As for Ukrainian members, yes, I believe Sergei is going to take part in the session tomorrow. Again, not something I know off the top of my head, but I can check for you and come back to you. But I understand he will do. Yeah. Merci. Let's go to Christoph Becker from Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me?
Christoph, off you go.
Yes, thanks. Two questions, actually. One for James, with regard to the NOCs that you mentioned that have been discussed. I think you didn't mention Iran, and I wondered what the situation was there, because I recall that the situation was viewed at with some concerns or serious concerns. I'm not sure the last time around. And if the reports are right, then the situation isn't at least ideal when we look at somebody like Elnas Rikabi, who was allowed to travel abroad for competition recently, but had to put down the equivalent of $20,000 in the bank to be allowed to do so. So that's one question. What's the situation with regard of the NOC of Iran? And then the other question, relates to a report from France Info, who were reporting that workers on Olympic construction sites, including the Olympic Village, claim to not have been paid or did not get work contracts, were employed without the proper paperwork and so on, and are now suing the respective employers. Is this a situation that the IOC is aware of? And is it something that would be looked at under the human rights framework, which is referring to workers on Olympic construction sites, if you will, as well? Thanks.
James, you want to deal with Iran?
Yeah, thank you very much, Christoph, and good catch. We did discuss the NOC of Iran in the IOC Executive Board. The reason I didn't explain it was I was just explaining what you've just raised relating to Elnaz Rakabi. For us, it was a positive move that she was given her passport back. The NOC of Iran and the International Federation had been very involved in the discussions around getting the passport back, and we know that she's back in Europe now. In relation to your point about the caution that you claim she put down, we don't have information on that, if I'm honest. We haven't been made aware of that. But we do, in the last IOC Executive Board, that specific point in a general matter was discussed in the Executive Board, and the NOC of Iran has committed to look at that with the authorities and with the national federations at the next General Assembly. So that's the situation there.
Thank you. And Christoph, on your other question, yeah, I mean, I heard and I've read reports this morning about that. Obviously, in this first instance, that's a matter for the organising committee for Paris 24. I'm sure that the correct people in the House will be informing themselves about that. We are in constant contact, as you can imagine, on a daily basis with Paris 24. So I couldn't go really very much further than that. But obviously, if there is something there, then we will need to inform ourselves about it. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Ed Hula from Hula Sport Communications. Ed.
Unmute here. Are we there?
I can hear you, Ed. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Question for Leandro La Rosa. Leandro La Rosa in Lausanne. There's something wonderfully alliterative about that. Regarding the July 23rd activities, are any of the top sponsors involved in it? And secondly, I didn't see any American cities listed under the names of those who are going to light up for the 23rd. Are any of the U.S. Olympic cities or South American Olympic cities participating in this? Thanks.
Hello, Ed. Very nice to see you after a long time. Second question about the cities. This is something that we ask the different NOCs around the world for them to, activate it locally, mainly with the city governments. So the list that I just showed, the feedback that we received. In South America, yes, we have Rio, and we have obviously Buenos Aires. In North America, none of them are activating in this light up initiative. The previous question was about
top sponsors.
Top sponsors, yes. We have 5 top sponsors that are activating together with us. We found this a fantastic excuse for them to also activate internally in their own offices as a human resources initiative. So 5 of our top sponsors are going to be activating not only with their own employees, that are a lot, but also amplifying the message of the campaign.
You know which sponsors they are?
Yes, I was looking for it. It's P&G is one of them. The other one is Samsung, that they have the Olympic Day challenge in the Samsung Health app in the watches. We have Deloitte, Panasonic, Visa, and also we are waiting for confirmation for Toyota. Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you in Lausanne, Leandro.
Hope to see you soon, my friend.
Have a great debut there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Ed. And I see you on Friday, I think. Or is it
I think
tomorrow?
so. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're very good. See you soon. See you very soon.
See you. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Okay. Excuse me.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. I think there was an Olympic qualifier series was in today's agenda. Was there some update about it for it?
Yes, I'm just trying to redial to the qualifying series. There was actually, I've got some notes somewhere, but I can't find them. We did have a discussion about the qualifier series. Can you bear with me, and I will try and find my notes and come back to you on that one. Okay. You'll appreciate trying to be across every single thing that happened in the board off the top of my head. Sometimes a little bit difficult, but I will come back to you. I'll give you a full update in a moment. In the meantime, let's go to Graham Dunbar from AP, and I'll come back to you, Takafumi.
Hello, Mark. I think I'm through now. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
A question for James on Indonesia. They gave up their FIFA Under-20 World Cup hosting at a few weeks' notice because, well, they said they hadn't realised that Israel might qualify. That cost their athletes the chance of performing in a competition they've been preparing for over 2 years. Did that give you any concern, and did you send an advisory to other IFs as to seriously consider not awarding events to Indonesia in the future?
Yeah. James, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Graham. And yes, that topic was discussed in executive board. As you know, the World Beach Games are the property of ANOC, and the recommendation was that ANOC should look at this situation very closely. As you may be aware as well, Graham, whenever issues like this happen, whether it be in Indonesia or any other country that is restricting access to all athletes, advisories do go to the international federations to tell them to be very careful in the allocation of events. As you know, for the Olympic Games, there is a principle of ensuring that all athletes can be able to participate in those games unfettered by access to the games.
Thank you very much. Takafumi, I do have an update, but I'm afraid it's not very exciting. I think it's the reason why I couldn't recall it very well. But just to tell you on the Olympic qualifying series that, yes, as I said, it was discussed. You're probably interested, I think, in the decision regarding the hosts. But that will be announced in the near future. That's not going to be announced today. So sorry to disappoint you on that one. But obviously, if you need some more specific detail, then do send to us so we can get Kit McConnell to give you some more detail. Okay, I'm going to do last question, I think, now to Lisa Roche, again from Desiree News in Salt Lake City. And I hope you're not going to ask about future games, because we don't have Kit with us. So we don't have Christoph with us. But please go ahead.
Well, I'm always sorry to disappoint you, Mark, but I did want to follow up on Wakato's question about the future host committee presentation today. I'm wondering what else specifically was discussed by the future host committee, and whether there was any discussion specifically about making recommendations for action on targeted dialogue in October. I understand, obviously, the executive board would want to hear the recommendations of the future hosts committee before making any decision on advancing cities into targeted dialogue. But I'm wondering if there was any indication today they may be ready to make those recommendations in time for action by the executive board in October rather than at the end of the year. Thank you.
I'm going to disappoint you and use the F word, which is flexible. And I'm afraid the best thing to tell you is that the whole system now is flexible. So all things are entirely possible, and obviously that could happen if they were to decide that it was worth advancing. But there was no discussion of that today. There was a discussion about Winter Youth Olympic Games, also for 2030, I think it was, but no decision as yet. There's a targeted dialogue, as you probably know, with Lombardy Trentino, but no decision as yet. Anyway, okay, I think that's it for now. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in the very near future. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you very much to my two guests as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.